Gamers, we are back with emergency tier list. No, it's not emergent. Shut up. I'm the tier list expert here. Let's get started. Rus is still the best Civ. It gets banned in every tournament. Great on every map. Love it. And I just want to say that I think balance in the game is probably the best it's ever been. Not as far as Rus, but as far as the other Civs. So, we'll get started with the other ones. The next Civ is going to be Mongol. I said there's some potential there, and I think in the past couple of tier lists, Mongol has been kind of climbing up a little bit on the ladder, and it's been played more and more, and it's been more and more annoying to deal with. Players have been getting more and more good with Mongols, and obviously you have to trade. You got to do the trade. If you don't do the trade, probably not as good. But with trading, it's a very, very strong Civ. Mongol used to be pretty bad into Civs like China, but now because you're trading, you're forcing them out, or like Abbasid, and then you got your Keshiks, which are basically budget knights, and you know, you can do really, really well. So I think Mongol is doing good. I don't think it's like OP like Rus or something like that. I don't think it's going to become S tier if Rus gets nerfed, but it's a good Civ, right? The next one we're going to be talking about is going to be Abbasid. I think Abbasid is really strong. People have been like playing more aggressive Abbasid recently, where you go military wing, you do a little poke, right? You get a second TC, and usually the gameplay was like you kind of defend, right? But people have started doing like really aggressive Abbasid, where it's like they open with horsemen. When they age up with military wing, they attack, they get a second TC, and they just add more production, they keep attacking. So that's kind of interesting development, I would say, for Abbasid that's been happening. And obviously once it reaches castle, the archers are completely broken with the attack speed from the military wing. So yeah, overall, it's just a very, very good Civ. Now, I am going to base this, by the way, on land maps for the disclaimer. This civilization tier list is for land maps like Dry Arabia, Lipany, Prairie, those kinds of maps, right? Not Baltic or whatever else. I actually have a different, I think, Civ tier list for those maps, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm basing this off of land maps, and I'm basing this off of my opinion at the top level. So if you're Joe from Gold, I know that the Civ that has defeated you last time is broken. I know that. Any Civ that beats you is an S tier, your Civ is D tier. We all know that. This is for the top level. Thank you. Next one is going to be English. I just don't think English is that good. It's very slow on land. It gets beaten by a lot of these Civs. And the fact that there are more Knight Civs now than we used to have. So there are 4 Knight Civs. I mentioned earlier in one of the other videos. There's French, Rus, there's Malian, and Mongol that have Knights or Knight-like units. And English is usually not good into those Civs. The next one we're going to be talking about is going to be Malians. Malians is still strong, although it has been getting beaten more and more. So Malian used to be S tier with Rus. I can't remember where I put it last time, but it's getting beaten more and more. And I don't know. I'm not gonna bump it up to B tier yet, but I might need to do emergency tier list, right? Soon, if it drops down. Just saying, there's a potential. The next Civ we'll be talking about is China. I think China is just a good Civ. Like, people are, like I've said this last time, people are playing it in feudal age with Zhugenyu. Their economy is very strong. They're strong on all maps, like including water maps, even though I'm not basing this rating off of water maps, but just saying they're strong on every map. Versatile Civ. broken late game, what's not to love? Next is going to be HRE. Not great. Now in the recent tournaments, HRE used to be like the chat of hybrid maps or the chat of water maps. Again, not basing the Civ tier list there off of that. But even there, HRE has seen some holes in their play. And it's not doing too great in tournaments. We just looked at 40% win rate in tournament. And on land maps, I think they're okay, but they're nothing amazing. Like, there's no situation where I'm playing and I'm like, oh man, if I was HRE, I'd win that game, right? It still needs some kind of buff in feudal, in my opinion. Like, it needs something in feudal. All the other civs, literally every single civ in the game, even Mongols can fight in feudal. HRE cannot. It still can. So yeah, the next civ we'll be talking about is going to be Deli. I'm going to put it in A tier. Can't remember where I put it last time, but Deli is just a very strong pressure civ. It's good, right? It's good as these other civs. They all have their strengths and weaknesses. Obviously, the weakness of Deli is late game. AK doesn't really exist because the upgrades take so long. But it's very strong in feudal, but it is matchup dependent, and there are some matchups that are more rough for Deli than others. But Ghazi Raiders are pretty strong, so they're pretty good. They're pretty good. So yeah, I love Deli. The next one we're going to be talking about is going to be Ottoman and French. This is a rough one. I actually don't know where to put these two. I'm gonna have to sit on it. Ottoman has seen more gameplay, even in tournaments. People have been playing Ottoman more and more, but it's not necessarily doing good, right? It's not like destroying and winning games left and right, but it is doing better than it used to do. So Ottoman is the one civ that I can see do better in the next patch, but for now, I'm gonna have to put it here. At least it's not alone here anymore. So there's that. At least it's not alone. But I can see it being an A tier, maybe in the next emergency tier list, or maybe next month. But there's been some development. Let's just say that. There's been some development. And then French, last but not least, I'm gonna have to go and put French in B tier as well. So my opinion of French is kind of went down a little bit, and the reason for that is Mongol is really strong against French. I think Rus can do pretty well into French. China can do. I think China versus French is somewhat even. I personally think it's slightly China favored. Abbasid versus French is not bad for Abbasid at all. Malian versus French is really bad for French. And then you have Deli versus French, which I think, you know, both sides can win. So against a lot of these popular civs, French doesn't necessarily do too well. It's not necessarily favored. Now the good old French, where you just, you know, go 1 or 2 TCs and you just attack in feudal, is still a thing. It's not a bad civ, but I don't see it as like a really strong contender anymore. So yeah, where's Japan? Pepe laugh. I can't tell you yet. So with that being said, this is my current civilization tier list for Age of Empires 4. Now, as always, another disclaimer, just because your civ is in B tier doesn't mean it's a bad civ. Like I said, the balance has been closer than ever. Like, honestly, some players would even do this. Like, I would probably say it's like this, but some players would even do this. Like, the civs are very close to one another, right? But for the sake of not making a tier list and putting one in S and everyone else in A tier, I do think there's a small difference between A and B tier, but it is not big at all. And also, another thing to say, I'm not putting these civs in any specific order. Like, China is not number 2, and then Abbasid 3, Mongol 4, Malian 5. It's just random, alright? So there it is. This is a quick one. The next one I'll be making I don't know when the new expansion is coming out. So next time we might have something else to add in the Civ tier list, aka Japan. But we'll see. Anyway, if you're watching this on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Check me out on Twitch, I'll probably love it right now. And if you're watching on Twitch, let's keep going.